Hey everybody, welcome back to Brent's Backyard Redneckery. So if you're like me, you go to the fair or any place like that, even sometimes into the malls that still exist out there, they have caramel apples, candy apples, those kinds of tasty treats. I came across a recipe for a caramel apple jam, and today we're going to try and make that. So get ready. I'll tell you what you need to do. Let's get started. So this recipe calls for 3 pounds of apples. I'm going to be using an apple called Cosmic Crisp. It's a little bit tangy, a little bit sweet, so I think this is going to be good. It's not going to be as Granny Smith-like as I'd like, but I think Granny Smith might be a little too tangy. I'm going to use some white sugar. We're going to use dark brown sugar. I'm going to take Turbinado sugar and grind it up to where it's a little bit finer like white sugar and use that. Light brown sugar, and of course, our pectin. Let's go ahead and get everything prepped and we'll get started. So my first step here, I've weighed out my apples. I've got right around 3 pounds, slightly bit more than that. Then I'm going to take them and peel them. We're going to put them through this coring machine. And I'm going to pop them in there, cut them into smaller pieces, and then we'll go on to the next step. All right, so just so you can see how one of these things works, I'm going to put this right in the middle of that core. Then you're just going to take it and press down really fast and really hard, like that. You'll get your core out, and that's it. We'll slice these into smaller pieces and pop them in our next bowl and get going. So I've got all my apples run through the coring machine. I'm just going to chop them up into cut these into thirds, and anything that has that core looking stuff in the middle, I'm going to cut that out as well and make sure I've got off all my random bits of skin if I come across any. It's not really a whole lot in there, but go ahead and knock that out, and then we'll move on to getting everything start cooking. So our first step here, we're going to put a cup of water in this pot and dump all our apples in. I'm going to put this on a medium low heat, and we're going to get that to where it's tender, and then we'll mash all these up and put in our next part of the recipe. All right, so now we've got our apples in a pot. I've got a cup of water at the bottom. I've also got 1 tablespoon of butter down in there. I'll put this on a medium low heat and let this cook down. We'll get these nice and tender and then smash them up really good to turn it into almost an applesauce type thickness, and then turn it into jam. So here we have our light and dark brown sugar. Looking at 1 cup of dark brown, 1.5 cups of light brown. Here we've got Turbinado, which is almost 1 cup, and then 1.5 cups of white. So 2.5 cups total in this one. And then I've got to add my pectin into that. Get it all stirred up, and we'll pop it in the pot. All right, so this is just starting to get to a nice temperature. I'm going to take my meat smasher here and use it on my apples to smash these down. Once they've crushed up a little bit and they've gotten nice and soft, I'm going to put them in my food processor just to make them a little bit more runny, I guess would be the right word, so the consistency is good for a jam, because I really don't want to have chunky preserves or marmalade. I'm going for like a apple butter type consistency. So once this is all done, we'll add in the first thing we'll add in will be our pectin. So I'll dump this in once I've got it all ready. Then we'll put in all the other stuff, get our boil going, and get it ready to pop into our jars. So hang tight. We'll be getting this thing wrapped up soon. I've got this masher I use for mashing grapes. I'm using it on my apples here, turning this into a little bit more mush. It's been on the burner now for about 30 minutes, so everything's nice and soft in here. So this is what we're looking like as far as our apple mush. Still a little bit thick, but that's what that's for. I got this, I don't know how old this thing is. Got it from my grandmother. Hamilton Beach, probably from like 1985. It's super loud, but it still chops. So I'm going to pop this stuff in there and blend it up. Most of this right here, I'm just going to try and dump it in and not make a huge mess. Get all that in there. Make sure it'll all fit. I think we got just enough for it to go. So I'm letting this thing run just for a couple seconds, just so you can see how loud the son of a gun really is. So it does a pretty good job. I'll get that all completely blended up, and then we'll toss it in our pot. All right, let's see what this looks like. Twist this off of here. So it's almost like mashed potato thickness. I think that'll work out just fine for us. Toss it back in the pot and get everything mixed in. All right, so here's what we're looking at. Almost like applesauce and mashed potatoes. I'm going to bring this up to a slight boil, toss in our pectin, then all of our sugars, and get this up to 220 degrees, and it should be jellied. Got my jars back here. We're going to pull those out, get everything put in the jars, and see how this turns out. Alrighty, so we got here in our pectin, I've got 6 tablespoons plus a couple teaspoons. I'll pop that in there and get that mixed in. We'll get this back up a little bit higher temperature here. I know it's a little thin. I may or may not have to add a little bit of water. I don't think I will. So we kind of want this to be a little bit on the thick side. So that's what we're going with for right now. Once that pectin's in there and mixed in good, we'll drop in our sugars. Get this up to 220 degrees where it's ready to gellify. It's already bubbling, so we're at a good heat. So I better toss my thermometer in here so I know I'm at the right temperature. I do not want this stuff to burn or stick. Let's see where we're at right now. We're at 162, so we got a ways to go, but so far this is one of the thickest jam jellies I've ever seen. But we'll go ahead and pop in our sugar here and get that mixed in. And then we'll toss in the brown sugar once this is mixed in. So it's going to take us a little while, but right, that smells pretty doggone good. I'm starting to get that caramel look to it. That's what I'm hoping for. And that Turbinado sugar, it has a bit of a molasses flavor to it, so I'm not sure exactly how that's going to affect this, but we'll find out. That's all mixed in. Toss in our brown sugars. Once we get these mixed in, it'll bring it back up to temperature, and then I'll raise the temperature to a medium-high heat until I get it right where I want it, and then we'll put it in our jars. I'm just going to go ahead and get this thing cooked up and get my jars ready. Then we'll take a look at it and see how it looks as far as a nice jelly. All right, we're about up to our nice rolling boil for our jelly. And we're at 208 degrees. And this is a nice, well, caramel looking color. And it smells a lot like molasses and sorghum. I guess probably partially because I got the brown sugar in there and the granulated turbinado in there that's not processed like the fine white sugar. But that's right about done. So I'm going to get ready, get everything set up to put this in the jars, and I'll show you what the jellied product looks like whenever I get a spoon and drip it. And the taste of it's pretty good. I don't know that I'd say it's a caramel apple, but still definitely pretty good. So I had a taste of this. I don't know that I'd call it caramel apple. It's definitely apple with a brown sugar taste to it. I assume because I've got brown sugar in the tornado sugar, which is more like molasses or sorghum. So once I get this finished up, I'll put it in the jars here. We'll see what kind of consistency we have. I'm at 205 degrees, so I got just a little bit of ways to go. I don't want this to burn, so I'm going to stop recording and get ready to pop this in the jars. All right, I've hit 215, 5 more degrees. We're going to pull this off and pop it in our jars. I've got my timer at 1 minute on this rolling boil, so this should be the end of it. And it's starting to gel up nicely in there. Feel it getting to where it needs to be. I'll let you know once I taste this and it's cooled down a little bit. Whether or not, I think it's worth a try. All right, we're just now getting this finished up. I tested it for its gelling effects on a plate inside the freezer, and everything seems to be good. So we're going to get this in all of our jars. And always remember, whenever you're making a jelly or anything you're going to can, that you clean your jars, sterilize them prior to putting anything in them. Last thing you need is some botulism or anything else like that coming up in a killing you down the line. All right, so there's our caramel apple jelly. Well, jam really, because we're not doing juice. But yeah, I think this is going to turn out wonderfully. Show you how it looks once I get all these done. I think it turned out great. Whenever you're doing jellies or anything like that, I want to make sure you've got a little bit of headspace in there. I got a little bit too high there, but that's going to be about what you want, about 1/4 of an inch to 1/2 an inch. And then we'll put the lids on it, and we'll put it in our other can to do a water bath processing. And then we'll be wrapping this up. But look at that. I mean, there's still some chunks in there from the apples, but you can see how it's starting to gel over the top there. I think this will turn out to be a nice spread. Make sure whenever you put your lids and your rings on here, and you clean off the top of the jar first. Put this on there nice and in the center. What I usually do here is while I'm putting on the ring, I'll put my 2 fingers there to hold it in place so it doesn't move. And then whenever you put it on before doing the water bath, just want to kind of get it about finger tight like that. And then whenever you put it in, it will seal up in the water bath. But always make sure that the top is clean and dry. Put your lid on. Put it down here and make sure it goes on there nice. And then give it a nice little finger tight like that, and then you're ready for your water bath. So anytime you do a water bath canning, you want to have your water about 1/2 inch above these jars. And then you'll put your water on to boil. Sorry about getting so close there. We'll put it up to boil. Once it hits a boil, you're going to boil it for 10 minutes and then pull it off the heat. Let it cool down. All right, everybody. That wraps up another episode of Brent's Backyard Redneckery. Hope you guys enjoyed it today. Maybe learn a little something different than usual. Not your usual, grape or apple or jelly, but a little bit something a little different. We've got our brown sugar in there, so the taste of it, definitely you can taste that in there, along with the molasses. And just enough apple almost overpowers the apple. So for me, the next time I make this, I'm going to reduce my brown sugar just probably by 1 cup or so, and see how everything turns out. But if you guys learned something, make sure to give me a thumbs up. Share it with your friends. Come back next time. Tell you what you need to do. Y'all have a good one.